Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth.
In the U.S., it is Monday, July 1st, 2024. In eastern Uganda, this center helps the local children by raising money for their education and even growing their own food to ensure they have a well-balanced diet. Learn more about their efforts. In Nigeria, we're discovering how property rights are managed within society. These community members are caring for their portion of the land, and everyone has a job to do. Sometimes symptoms are considered common and often overlooked, but there's a difference between common and normal symptoms. Find out how this impacts your pets. Malaysia is increasingly concerned about AI scams, especially for travelers, which could impact sensitive information like credit card details. And the U.S. Supreme Court rules states can now enforce laws banning homeless encampments. A big deal for both large and small cities.
This is Calen Gipp, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. Today we visit the St. Paul and Rose Children's Home Center in eastern Uganda. This initiative provides food for local children and raises funds for their education. UNN field messenger Mwandha Michael shares this inspiring story.
This is Mwandha Michael, UNN field messenger from here, Wugala, Butagaya sub-county, Jinja district in eastern Uganda, at St. Paul and Rose Children Care Center. And today I'm talking about how to sustain this project by applying agricultural projects which are underway to provide food and income for the children here at the site. Yeah, these greens you see are part of nutrition because we keep children at this site. Now, we can't maintain them by buying everything in the market. It is too expensive for us. So what we do, we make this backyard gardening where we make kind of greens, they grow naturally, and we pick them for a period of we can pick this one for a period of 3 months when you're just in leaves, and they cook it, they add on the sauce for these children to balance the diet. Those are sweet potatoes. We heap them in smaller sizes as you see, and then we go and look for all the potato leaves which have been grown. We bring them and we push them in those soil. For a period of 1 week, they will make roots and they begin to grow. Now in 3 months' time, they will bring other roots which are ready for food. So this building, as you see, we can accommodate like 200 goats. When you can sell like 5 goats every month, that means you can be having 1 million shillings every month. Thank you very much. UNN Field Messenger Mwandha Michael reporting. Hope to see you next time.
Land tenure regulations in Onwana, southeast Nigeria, determine the allocation, transfer, use and management of property rights. UNN field messenger Ugwumba Obasi explores how these rules shape land ownership in his region.
Hello, I'm Ugwumba Obasi, reporting for the United Network News from Onwana, southeast Nigeria. I'm reporting on the land tenure systems. we have two types of land tenure system, which is the communal land tenure system and the maternal family lineage tenure system, which is a kind of inheritance tenure system. In communal land tenure system, the whole expanse of Mwandha land, that's the whole expanse of the countryside of Mwandha, is partitioned into 5 sections, whereby during a planting season, one section of it is shared and allotted to individual members of the community. Their planting purposes. And so today, we are in my portion. You are responsible for your own portion after it's been allotted to you, from bush clearing to burning the leaves when it gets dry, and then clearing firewood and tilling, which we are doing here today. Besides communal land tenure system, we also practice this mother lineage, the maternal lineage system, whereby in that inheritance, only the family owners of that particular land, and almost 80% of what we live on is from our community. Farming and fishing, anything, construction work, materials come from within the community. Thank you for watching Ugwumba Obasi for the United Network News.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with the electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
We want our pets to be happy and healthy. If they're not feeling well, certain symptoms may be overlooked simply because they're considered common. But that doesn't mean those symptoms are normal. Dr. Jeff Feynman is a holistic veterinarian who helps empower pet parents by bridging the gap between conventional veterinary medicine and holistic health. So today we're talking about our pets, and Dr. Jeff is joining us again. Dr. Jeff, we want our animals to be as healthy as they can possibly be. Sometimes we take them to a veterinarian and they'll say things like, oh, that's, that's common. That condition is common for your dog, your cat, your whatever. This actually happens with humans too, by the way. You'll take my kid in to see a pediatrician or whatever and be like, oh, that's common. I'm like, all right, well, just because something is common doesn't make it normal, like the way our bodies are supposed to operate, or in this case, the way our pets' bodies are supposed to operate. So can we talk about that a little bit more? There's a difference between something being common and something being normal.
I would love to talk about that. Thank you, Sunny, for bringing up this really super important topic, because we've come to accept a lot of things as normal in dogs and cats. You know, cats that vomit hairballs, cats that drink water, dry coat, smelly, flaky, allergies. All these things are very common, but you're right, they're not normal. And how do we know they're not normal? Because when we focus on the balance, the inner balance of the individual, those things all go away. And it's really, really, really important to learn those common but abnormal things that those are early warning signs that there's a problem. The energetic problem, not a physiologic problem, but the energetic imbalance. And if you like, we can share an article that we have that lists some of the early warning signs. You know, things like a little bit of eye discharge, or red ears, or vomiting, or
So those are really symptoms of something, and we shouldn't just slough it off as, that happens to all of them. Well, there's something triggering that. Something that maybe we shouldn't be doing, or a better way to do something. Yeah, let's talk just a little bit about that. And, we can also share that link as well to the article. But what are some of those common things that you see that are like, this is not normal? It might be common. It's not normal.
Well, I would love to go back to the very beginning of what you've said, that it's a clue to something going on internally. But if you go to your vet or your doctor with those clues, they run all the blood work and everything and all the diagnostic tests, and they all come back fine, and they say, it's normal.
Yeah.
But it's still that clue, but it's a clue on the energetic levels. So I think that, that's what we have to really make a distinction between, the physical paradigm that we're talking about in vet med and that we learn only about in veterinary school, versus the energetic paradigm, which is how everything really works in the body. I mean, there's not one cell in your body that can live without energy. So, those are early warning signs that the energy flow, because it's all about flow, as in flow research.
Yeah.
Go with the flow. It's exactly how the body works, and things like little bits of eye discharge, red ears, itchy skin. We discussed a lot of them. Rumbling in the belly after eating, not eating well, cats being picky. Cats are not designed to be picky. Animals are not designed to be picky. That's a sign of imbalance. And when they're rebalanced, their appetite gets regained.
Okay, because that's interesting, because I think a lot of people have that perception of cats, that they're very picky, but that's not how they naturally are. Interesting.
Think about the wild. A cat in the wild, there's a fresh kill. Nah, I'd rather not have that one. I'll have another one.
That's very true. And that's nature in action. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the bottom line right there, is nature is giving us the framework for working with our dogs and cats. We just need to follow that framework of balance, inner balance.
An agricultural technique known as integrated duck farming is making a comeback. As ducks walk in the fields, they tear up weeds, prey on pests, and leave behind manure as organic fertilizer. Farmers can then eliminate the need for pesticides, herbicides, and artificial fertilizers. For rice farmers, integrated duck farming is not new. It was documented in China 600 years ago, where farmers practiced it until synthetic fertilizers and pesticides became popular. Thousands of farmers across Asia, as well as villagers in France, Iran, and South Africa, have embraced this method. Using ducks has been a success. The reduction in pesticide use has already led to more birds and other animals returning to farmlands, indicating positive environmental changes. As industrial technologies increasingly threaten habitats, some farmers are happily returning to ancient methods to feed their communities. In India, an IT specialist named Tarun Kumar created an eco-friendly sewage treatment system inspired by cow's stomach. Cow stomachs break down food using anaerobic bacteria, which don't need oxygen. Typical wastewater systems use aerobic bacteria and require ventilation, electric power, manpower, and sometimes chemicals. Kumar's invention is zero energy and zero chemical, with wastewater traveling through 4 chambers using bacteria and natural filters. These filters help remove solids and absorb nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. Health inspectors deemed the treated water suitable for toilets and gardening. So far, the system has cleansed 2 billion liters of sewage without using power or chemicals. In 2013, 2 Australians set out to remove waste from the ocean with a small machine called a sea bin that looks like a garbage can and a pool skimmer. It sits just 10 millimeters under the surface and skims for floating pollution, sucking items into it as the water passes out through the bottom. With more than 1,000 sea bins deployed in 53 countries, they have prevented an estimated 60 million plastic items from entering the ocean. This machine also has a data collecting ability and tracks the amount and type of garbage it gathers. Each day, more than 500 million liters of water are filtered, and about 4 tons of plastic, microplastics, plastic fibers, oil, and more are captured. In the future, they envision a world where every shoreline benefits from advanced tracking and analysis capabilities to combat pollution. The Seabin Foundation continues to innovate and educate, empowering communities to take action against ocean waste. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
from Atlanta,
in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. In Malaysia, there is growing concern over artificial intelligence or AI-powered scams targeting hotel managers and travelers. Although such scams are currently rare in some regions due to cooperation between these managers and online travel agencies, the potential for harm remains significant. AI-generated phishing attacks have increased globally, tricking individuals into revealing sensitive information like credit card details. Smaller hotels may be especially vulnerable, lacking the cybersecurity support systems of larger international chains. To combat these threats, travel operators should provide employee training, inform customers about potential scams, and establish secure communication channels. Regular security audits and the implementation of robust cybersecurity tools are also essential to enhance online transaction safety. India's drug regulator has inspected more than 400 pharmaceutical plants due to concerns related to deadly cough syrups. It has shut down 36% of these facilities for failing to meet safety standards. These closures are part of efforts to address quality concerns after cough syrups containing toxic chemicals led to child deaths in Gambia, Uzbekistan, and Cameroon. India's $41 billion pharmaceutical industry faces scrutiny due to these incidents. The federal government now mandates cough syrup manufacturers to test their products at government labs before export. While no new complaints have been reported since last July, the crackdown continues to affect manufacturers. A Japanese health supplement maker is investigating 76 more deaths, possibly linked to its cholesterol-lowering tablets containing red yeast rice. Earlier in 2024, the company began looking into 5 deaths after customers reported kidney problems. Red yeast rice, used in food and medicine for centuries, has been found to potentially cause various health issues. More than 1,600 individuals have sought medical attention, and 76 cases are under investigation for potential links to the deaths. A recall of 3 products was initiated in March after toxic acid was found in the manufacturing process. Health officials have demanded detailed daily reports from the company, criticizing it for withholding information. In response, 50 firms in Japan and 2 in Taiwan have also recalled products containing red yeast rice. The cost of prescription drugs in the U.S. has increased by 37% during the past decade, leaving many Americans struggling to afford their medications. There's been a slight slowdown in price hikes recently. However, the impact remains severe. Many people are now paying more out of pocket as insurance companies cover fewer prescriptions and add more restrictions. Most medications were covered by insurance, but now nearly as many drugs are restricted as are covered. As a result, Americans face tough choices: either pay the higher costs or leave their prescriptions unfilled. A recent report shows more than 50 million Americans have had to abandon their prescriptions due to high costs. Patients now deal with higher copays and deductibles, doubling the financial burden from a few years ago. The U.S. lumber market is struggling with weak demand and oversupply, leading to significant pressures on prices. Sky-high home prices and elevated mortgage rates have led to record low housing affordability, curbing demand for new homes and consequently lumber. Home builder confidence has declined, and home renovation activities, which surged during the pandemic, are also waning. Retailers like Home Depot reported declining sales in the first quarter, citing reduced engagement in major projects like kitchen remodels. On the supply side, the lumber industry ramped up production in response to previous price surges, but new supply is hitting the market just as demand decreases. This imbalance has driven lumber prices down to pre-pandemic levels. Experts predict lumber prices may stagnate through 2024, but potential interest cut rates in 2025 could revive demand, stabilizing prices eventually. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled states can enforce laws banning homeless encampments, causing nearly a dozen states to introduce such ordinances this year. A recently signed bill in Florida restricts sleeping in public places and mandates temporary campsites when shelters are full. Similar laws were considered or enacted in states like Indiana, Kansas, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, and Utah. These laws mostly apply outside the West Coast, where high housing costs and large homeless populations have been long-standing issues in those areas. This ruling is likely to impact smaller cities with increasing visible homelessness. Larger cities, however, have been tackling this issue through public health orders and other means without involving police. Some city officials assert arresting homeless individuals is not a solution and emphasize placing them in hotels and interim housing instead. Canadian WestJet Airlines canceled 235 flights during the weekend after unionized mechanics went on strike late Friday. This action resulted in disrupting travel during a busy holiday period. The cancellations affected tens of thousands of travelers and led the airline to operate a significantly reduced schedule by Saturday evening. The federal government had previously intervened to prevent the strike by directing mandatory arbitration to settle disputes between the airline and the union. Despite this, the mechanics proceeded with the strike, citing an Industrial Relations Board decision that allowed the labor action. The labor minister expressed disagreement with the board's decision and planned to meet with the parties involved to address the situation. Australia's wool industry faces significant challenges due to plummeting prices, triggering concerns amongst producers. Wool prices have halved since their pre-pandemic peak, and many farmers are contemplating leaving the wool business for cattle and grain due to low profitability. Australia produces 80% of the world's superfine wool used in apparel, with more than 80% of its output exported to China. The decline in wool demand is influenced by changing fashion trends, the rise of remote work, and cheaper alternatives such as synthetic fibers. Also, currency fluctuations are making wool less attractive in key markets like Japan. Despite these challenges, there is optimism in the rising consumer interest in eco-friendly products, with young consumers in Europe showing increased awareness of sustainable materials. The wool industry is promoting its eco-credentials, emphasizing that wool uses less energy and water compared to synthetic fibers. In Kenya, affordable housing remains out of reach for many. Despite the government's plans to build 250,000 houses annually, there is still a 2 million unit deficit. Most urban Kenyans live in informal settlements without basic infrastructure. Some residents have managed to move to government housing projects where one-bedroom units sold for $7,600. However, traditional mortgage routes are proving ineffective, with experts recommending cooperative savings systems. New technologies like 3D printing are being explored to build houses faster and at lower costs. Yet these remain unaffordable for most. A new housing tax passed by Parliament in June of 2023 aims to fund affordable housing, but it faces legal challenges. The tax has sparked protests, resulting in unrest and fatalities. Madagascar's capital has introduced a new cable car system aimed at easing congestion. Capable of transporting up to 75,000 passengers daily, these cars cover a distance of 12 kilometers or 7.5 miles. Safety measures include numerous sensors and generators for power cuts. Despite the potential benefits, many residents are upset as the ticket price is nearly €1, significantly higher than a bus ticket. Some argue essential services like power and water should have been prioritized. Critics argue the project increases the country's debt. The government plans to offer subsidized fares for students and pensioners. The system is expected to be available to the public by 2025. Belize has declared a state of emergency to tackle a surge in gang-related murders and violent crimes. Nearly 100 people have been arrested so far. The order gives police the authority to search homes without a warrant and detain suspects for up to 90 days. Initially set for 30 days, the government extended it to maximize its effectiveness. A nightly curfew was imposed on those under 18 who were often recruited by gangs. Belize has seen a spike in violence, primarily due to local gangs fighting over marijuana market control. The Prime Minister says the order would not affect law-abiding citizens, but opposition criticism suggests a lack of effective solutions. Concerns about civil rights violations persist, but authorities maintain the arrests are based on credible intelligence. The UK Gambling Commission is investigating suspicious betting activity related to the upcoming July election. This investigation has gained attention in the final campaign weeks, testing the watchdog's ability to conduct independent investigations. Collaborating with the Metropolitan Police to consider additional offenses, the majority of cases will be addressed by the Gambling Commission under laws against betting cheating. Typically, the Commission collaborates with sports governing bodies on betting integrity. This political case stands out, raising questions about the adequacy of rules for MPs and officials. The Commission says using confidential information for betting advantages could be criminal under the Gambling Act. The regulator is exploring potential offenses tied to the election date, though further details remain undisclosed. In South London, a squatters group has occupied abandoned buildings to shelter the homeless, highlighting the housing crisis in the UK. Buildings once abandoned are now refurbished, providing beds and basic necessities like water and electricity. Rents in England have surged 22% in 5 years, forcing many, especially the young, to live with parents or share houses. The most vulnerable are left on the streets. Ethnic minorities are hit hardest, with reports indicating they are more than 3 times as likely to face homelessness. Despite illegal residential squatting, commercial squatting remains lawful if no damage occurs. Squatting in commercial properties has surged, attributed to governmental policies. Though the government targeted 300,000 new homes per year by the mid-2020s, fewer than 250,000 have been built annually. Pet owners in Malaga, Spain can bury their beloved animals in a new public cemetery. This facility offers a range of services, including a memorial park, crematorium, farewell hall, ash spreading area, and a burial zone for pets under a certain weight. Although private pet cemeteries exist in other major cities across Spain, this one stands out as publicly owned. The cemetery handles cremation and burial, manages post-death bureaucracy, and provides psychological support for grieving owners. It acknowledges the emotional struggle of losing a pet and aims to make the grieving process easier. The fees for services vary widely, ensuring accessibility. Construction of this facility began several years ago and represents a significant investment in pet care infrastructure. Balmoral Castle, the British royal family's summer retreat, is open to the public for the first time in more than 170 years. From July 1st to August 4th, visitors can take guided tours of rooms, including the entrance hall, main dining rooms, library, and drawing room. Tickets, which are priced at $127 or $190 with afternoon tea, sold out within 24 hours, with 40 visitors allowed daily. The tours offer the public a rare glimpse into the castle's interior, typically reserved for the royal family. Previously, only the ballroom and the castle grounds were accessible to the public. The walls feature artwork by a Victorian artist and various historical items like the chauffeur's whistle and a dinner gong will also be showcased. This opening precedes the arrival of the royal family for their summer stay. We have an exciting new announcement. We have launched a new global TV service specifically for the UNN community. Thousands of live TV channels, 60,000 movies on demand, over 30 languages, and live sports from around the globe. Between all the separate streaming services and cable for live TV and sports packages, it could cost well over $200 a month. But now with United TV, you can have it all for only $15.99 a month. Go to unitedtv.org and check it out. Get so much more for so much less.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. Let's talk more about government psychic programming and projects and why this is relevant now. The 4th of July is rapidly approaching, and the deep state has been making deals everywhere.
Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, and it's a holiday week here in the U.S.
It is a holiday. Yeah, we're kind of gearing up for July 4th.
Really?
Big day for the deep state too. At least they think it is, right?
Oh yeah, everything's going to change, you know.
Yeah, right.
But how about you? Hopefully you're not waiting for the deep state to make your plan.
No, I don't care what the deep state does, as long as it doesn't impact me and my family. No, we are doing some fun things, with my parents. And so this is the party house. This is the place where everyone wants to go. We've got a pool in the yard and stuff. And so people like to come over, and we're having a big barbecue. Friends and family, they do this every year. I just happen to be here this year to be part of all the festivities. So yeah, the kids will be here. Husband, yeah.
That should be fun, something different. Yeah. I don't think I'll be celebrating quite the same way you will be, but I'm probably going to go hide under a rock.
Oh no. Please.
No, I don't do that. You know that. But for them, their festivities and anticipated plans, of course, based on money coming through, that's going to fall from the sky, according to them, on the 4th of July, is setting up a war with China. That started over the weekend. Oh, yes, we have big plans. They do, yes. Mm-hmm. False flags for Washington, D.C., possible systems crashes, turning off of the financial system by the end of this month, in order to affect change in a switch, you name it, they've got big plans. Mm-hmm. But, in both ways, though, some interesting events happened over the weekend. As I've talked to you about, we do have some people that are interested in breaking away from the group and doing something different. Possibly running some tests, see about transfers going through, that kind of thing, along with their group so they can watch things happen. Mm-hmm. And on Saturday, there was a lot of phone calls placed to people that I talked to, asking, how do I do what I do? How does this work? Asking questions about me, I guess, that are not in my file or are still undetermined how I do what I do. Okay. So I got a call myself on Saturday asking for a meeting, which was to take place on Sunday.
Okay.
So I normally don't really go to these kind of things. I ran some backgrounds, figured out who everybody was, that kind of thing. And then I kind of watched to see once I called this person back and said, okay, I'll meet you. And there was a predetermined place to meet. And about an hour or so before I kind of ran a little scan to see what was going on around there. They had this whole thing set up. As I told you, underneath this town, there's a big facility, right? So they had this whole thing set up within this particular restaurant we were supposed to meet in, under the restaurant, around the restaurant. I mean, yeah, and there was a lot of people that came in overnight to be there because they still cannot figure out how I do what I do. They don't really understand for a number of different reasons, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I kind of played a little game just to see what would happen. So the person I was supposed to meet, I walked in and said, sorry, can't stay, just got, something's come up and I got to go. And I handed that person a note and it said where I was going to go. Meet me here. And I met in a place that I know it's it's not really remote, but it's in an area where you would definitely see crowds of people around you if there were crowds of people. It's other than people hiking and whatnot, you don't see a whole lot of people in this area. And I know because of its close proximity to the water that there's nothing underneath the ground there. So there goes that out the window. So I met these people there probably about 5 minutes later. And we started having a conversation. Everything was fine. And it took about 20 minutes or so, 20 to 25 minutes before people started showing up. They had to regroup. They had to get the information. So there was a whole regrouping thing that happened because, I don't go out very much. I work pretty much all the time and occasionally, run the grocery stores and whatnot. But, I don't really go hang out anywhere anymore for prolonged periods of time. So it was kind of interesting for me because I figured out, number one, if you change locations, it will take them 20 to 25 minutes to regroup, figure it out, and then all head in that direction.
Okay.
And number two, they were trying to figure out if I had something up in here. That was another part of the analysis. So I listened to a lot of the chatter after all these people dispersed and that kind of thing. So they were trying to figure out, because most of the people in their world that have had extraordinary abilities to do something else, what they consider to be extraordinary, that have not gone through one of their special psychic training programs, they have something that they put up in there, like a soul swap or some kind of change out, and that's really an alien. Well, I'm not an alien, they've come to that conclusion. They still don't know what it is they're seeing, and there were different groups of people that gave different opinions. And some of them are really funny, as to what they see because they were taking pictures, they were taking videos. I mean,
like a sideshow or something.
Yeah. Well, I felt like, that like a lab rat or, like the statue, like in the middle of the park that everybody wants to go see and take pictures of, like a tourist or something.
Yeah, exactly.
We had military people walking around there. We had all kinds of folks from all walks of life. I know, it's very interesting. But the switcheroo was important for me, though, because now I know that if I'm going to do something like this and meet somebody, then I'm going to change the location at the last second, and then I'm going to move every 15 to 20 minutes, because by 22 to 25 minutes, you can stick a fork in me. I'm done, right? So
yeah. Okay.
And that's kind of why I don't really bother going anywhere, honestly, is because what's the point? I mean, it's always like I feel like the sideshow at the circus, or something like that.
Right.
It's always a bigger deal than it really needs to be. Sometimes if they know I'm not meeting people, or, I'll always have people around, especially if there's people in town that are not, and they're just normal people that live here. I don't know about normal, but they're people that live here that just, they'll stay a little closer than normal, that kind of thing, if they know, that there's people here that are, potentially not friendly or something like that. But other than that, for the most part, I'm kind of left alone unless it's something like this. This was a pre-orchestrated thing because I definitely did some looking into it. So between the phone calls to, they were calling Tom, they were, and some other people, and then they were contacting me directly, trying to figure out how I do what I do. There was way too much hubbub, just for a simple grab a coffee, kind of thing with someone who actually lives here. Believe it or not. Yeah, it was weird. I know.
Yeah. So did they get what they wanted? Do you have any idea? Like, it's the people that you met with were in on it, right? They knew that all this was going on.
They definitely were aware something was going on, for sure. Okay. I would say they have their own skills. They're not dark, just they're, they have abilities. Let's just say.
But they weren't part of the deep state, so to speak. They weren't associated. They were just locals.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So,
Okay.
But anyway, to go back to these other people. Now, when you said, did they get what they were looking for? The problem is they don't know what they're looking for.
No, that's true.
You know, and to them, I am an anomaly. You know, how is it that a human has this job? How is it she does what she does? And why did I never have any kind of training of any sort in their world to do what I do?
Yeah. I also feel like there's jealousy in there too, Kim. You know, like they had to do certain things. You know what I mean? They had to do X, Y, Z to get to wherever they are. How do you walk in their mind and just
like, hey,
hand it to you?
Hey,
I'm here. Let the party start.
Well, and I'm going to talk about something which I think is important for all of you to understand, even if obviously, you know, you weren't in any kind of program, but there's a lot of programmed information out there as well. So let's talk about the reason why I am confusing to the government. The government has done extensive research in cooperation, governments plural. This is not just the United States, the Russians, the Chinese, everybody. We all know about deep underground military bases and a lot of interaction that happened between humans and different alien races.
Yeah.
And some of those programs involved how to train your human. So how to teach your human that may already exhibit somewhat of a psychic ability, and then they put them through these programs such as the Jedi program. Or if you're been around for a while, you've seen the movie Men Who Stare at Goats.
Oh,
you know, and then the LSD programs, Project Moon, I think it's Moonlight. You know, there's a lot of programs out there centered around psychic abilities, using drugs as enhancement. And, you know, we've seen it all on the internet. But the information on how to do this and how to create these drugs and what can you do to manipulate humans into doing things for you came from alien races. And not ones that were friendly to humans.
Right.
And most of the time the information came from people that were trying to control humans. Now, the programs are extensive, and they are all geared around doing things in such a way that involve a third-party entity or a third-party medication of some sort. And the people that are admitted to these programs already have some kind of skill of their own, and they're just amplifying those skills. So a lot of people have those kind of skills naturally. Doesn't mean everybody goes into a government program, but the information that was given to them is much like how militaries give information to other countries' militaries. So the United States quite often will go in and quote unquote help a country, you know, fight the bad people, insert bad people name here, you know, Taliban or whoever the latest and greatest boogeyman is. And they'll come right in and then they'll train their militaries, you know, kind of like Syria and some other places in Africa. And they give them equipment and that type of thing so they can quote unquote defend themselves should there ever be an uprising of insert boogeyman name here.
Yeah.
But the United States never gives out equipment that they can't overcome with something else they have. They also never give them information about tactics and how to do, you know, run this type of an operation, that type of an operation that they can't overcome or already know what they're going to do. And that's Warfare 101. You know, you never know when someone might be your enemy. You know, that's what they're told anyway. In reality land, it's all just a movie. You know, if you're going to go off script, you know, we're not helping you, basically. But in a nutshell, that program that everybody who's been in the military knows about, and if you've been watching the news ever in your life, you know that we do this. We go in and we help countries military-wise, and we sell military equipment and those types of things. And some of the equipment, of course, is only held out for the U.S. or, in Russia's case, in Russia. They might do the same thing, and did a lot of that during the Cold War, Nicaragua, in a lot of places. Spreading communist sunshine everywhere they go. But this is a well-known thing. Now, take it up one more level, and let's talk about deep underground military bases. Deep underground military bases and their work with captured refugees in some cases, prisoners of war in other cases, aliens, because most of them were working in those bases. They were forced to work there in cooperation with the humans. Not by the humans, but by another alien race they were truly scared of. Yeah. This would be your Draco, your Abraxas, and those kind of people, non-people people. And the information that they were given by these groups of people was limited. And part of the reason for that is because their superiors or their slave owners or the people that were holding them prisoner on this planet told them not to train the humans because they could be our enemy at any given moment in time. Give them just enough information to function, but never too much information that they could leave this planet or do something, that we couldn't control. Right. So the humans in the space program that did leave the planet, whether going forward and backward in time, breaking the time-space continuum, traveling to bases on Mars and other places, did so using technology that they provided and they could drive. So make no mistake, humans that have left this planet, left here as slaves or left here for a purpose to be utilized as batteries in another location or whatever it was. And if you talk to the people that were involved in those programs, this is part of the problem. Because these people participated probably, maybe some of them actually on a firsthand level. But and it's fascinating for us to read online about whistleblowers that have been in underground bases and those kind of things. But it's not as fascinating as you might think because the information was limited. And it was limited by their, people that were holding them prisoners, the head general on this planet under global martial law, which was Marduk, and others. Therefore, they basically gave you forks to a gunfight. Does the information work for remote viewing? Does it work for opening your mind up, learning how to have special psychic skills, to throw energy around, those kind of things? Yeah, it does, but it was never anything that they couldn't counteract either with a computer program, a quantum computer program, or monitor with a quantum computer program. You get too light, you get too dark, they're going to slap you down. And the same goes for the rest of us humans too. So the rest of us humans also had the same issue. If we got too light, we were traveling too far, we became too skilled, we would also get smacked back down. Right. So theirs was designed to work predominantly with dark matter, dark essence, and lots of different things that would keep them working on their side of the fence. Now, these people are not bad people. Not saying they are, or or anything like that. Some of them maybe, but they're not bad people. And they're just in a program thinking they're doing what's right for their country, and this goes for the Russians and the Chinese and the British and everybody else does. Everybody does it. Everybody has their own remote viewers and psychics, and that's been going on for decades. Yeah. Now, on the regular people level, it's done in a different way. So yes, they can use the same computer programs. They can use a lot of the same stuff on all of us. And we'll talk about locations where that was based out of to kind of keep you down. The same thing goes for money and societal systems, but they also do it through gurus and information. Meaning, you know, I was talking to somebody this weekend and they were talking about an experience that they had. They were kind of awake, pretty young, you know, in their teenage years, and they wanted more information. And back then, when this person was that age, dinosaurs were roaming the earth and it was hard to get to a library. No, I'm just kidding. And you had to go to a library. You had to get a book. You know, we had no internet. There was no YouTube how to make a psychic connection video, you know. Yeah. So we picked up a book and, you know, instinctively and wisdom-wise, he automatically knew that the information in there was wrong. And the same thing goes for, and I hate to say this because people are going to hate me for this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. The same thing goes for organized religions. Now, they teach you a lot of good information, so don't get me wrong here. You know, we're not supposed to kill each other. You know, these 10 points are very valid. You know, things we are not supposed to do. Don't take somebody else's wife or, you know, whatever. That's important. We don't do these things. But to say that you have to go to this specific building to do that is kind of weird, you know? You know, you have to be around these specific people and do activities with these specific people because and some of the activities aren't bad. You know, there's, like I said, during like the hurricane when the government and FEMA failed a few years back, in came all the church groups. And the church groups were the ones that actually provided people with food, water, shelter, you know, whatever they needed. So there's a lot of benefits to having religion. I'm not saying there isn't. And mainly from the standpoint, in my eyes, of being around like-minded people who just want to do something good in this world. Mm-hmm. I think that's a real positive. Mm-hmm. But it also goes for other, you know, we often think like the Catholic Church and, you know, bad things that happen there and that kind of stuff. And, you know, and then we often think about, you know, sometimes in church, the minister's sleeping with everybody, that kind of thing, you know, but people are just people. Yeah. You know, not everybody goes to church with the wrong intentions or forming a gossip clique or anything like that. So, but we also have other, you know, religions that aren't talked about a lot, like Islam. You know, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about Hindu. We don't talk about these, and they're not technically religions, but in some ways they're teachings, which is pretty much what religion is. It's teachings. You know, you're teaching information that's in the book, how to relate it to your life. And it doesn't matter which book you're talking about, whether be it the Quran or be it the Bible, you know, it's all pretty much laid out there for you in the Kabbalah and Buddhism and, you know, you name it, you know, whichever one resonates with you is the one that you choose. And it's the same thing with gurus online. You know, people are... The New Age movement many years ago started with a bunch of information that was put out there by some of these government programs, believe it or not. Yeah, and there are still gurus out there that are giving information based on government program training. Mm-hmm. And some of these people... I can give you some examples of people that do this. You know, and I don't like to talk badly about people online, but there's a guy that talks about the light system, and we'll leave it at that. He's one of those people that was trained in one of those programs, does have skills, don't get me wrong, is probably communicating with people he thinks are good guys. Mm-hmm. Trying to do the right thing for people, but he puts out a lot of stuff out there that's, you know, instead of doing something about it, you know, we're all going to die of the next pandemic and this is when it's going to start, blah, 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 you know, and there's going to be an invasion. But the same thing that I'm seeing on my side of it, coming from people who actually do want to kill us all, mm-hmm. you know, or corral us or whatever it is they're trying to do, are the same people that's giving him this information. So who's positive and who's not? Yeah. But again, I don't think the guy's a bad guy. There are other folks out there too with a hodgepodge of information that have been in these programs, and they are all over YouTube and Rumble and all of that, giving you inside information, telling you, we remote viewed this and we remote viewed that. And some of them, even recently in the last 6 months, there were some people online when we were going through that whole changeover to the new UNN. They said that they remote viewed, and I'm on a hill, and I got wonderful views, and in my huge closet, and all of this stuff, And let me just set the record straight for you. I just don't. At the same time, these same people were validated, but the other people are putting an address online that looks like it couldn't be anything further from the truth. It's a tiny little place. It's not big. It's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The information kind of conflicted there. These people made me look like I'm a rock star. The other people are saying, look at this little tiny place and, all that kind of thing. But the point is that the way that they're trained to think and what they're trained to look for in a person with extraordinary skills or has been trained to have extraordinary skills doesn't necessarily mean that they can actually look in on someone who has actual skills.
Mm-hmm.
A perception from someone like that or a psychic rarely works on someone that actually has skills.
Yeah.
Number one, someone who actually has skills will have themselves shielded and blocked like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
You don't have any idea how many people have called me and said, we've been having a psychic conversation and I've looked into your energy. I'm like, oh, heck no, you didn't. Because I have to be super ultra protected all the time. All the time. Because if not, these people are going to creep in and probably could kill me this way.
Yeah.
But they're predictable because there is only one program that actually does this. And those programs are either defined by government level, these are your average everyday people that are recruited, or SSP level. So it's pretty easy to, once you have a copy of it, which of course it's in the system, because it had to be funded by somewhere.
Yeah.
And once you understand those programs, then they're easy to defend yourself against.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as far as myself, in order for me to do what I do, and even sometimes it creeps in, and I'm not saying it's from these types of people. This was really bad during the days when the covens were around and the Sanhedrins were around, and well, they learn a lot from the demons that they conjure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant communication with them and their demon brood, so to speak. So the demons know how to try to get in there, try to attack you, and they're not program people, so there's a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
We still have some of those people around, not the covens or anything like that, but people that practice black magic that probably know a little more than some others. So the defenses are always there. They're always up. The
Right.
energy shields are always up. And, and I know a lot of you do the same thing. You probably are pretty sensitive, some of you, and you know how to do the same thing to prevent those attacks. But the problem that I see in the regular world with regular people, even highly skilled people, we tend to lock ourselves into someone else's way of making that connection to source.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's because you're going to a building and you're talking to those people, or you're talking to some Buddhist person or some enlightened guru or whatever it is. It's somebody else's recipe.
Yeah.
And recipes work great if you're trying to bake a cake. I have baked a successful cake with this recipe or this pie or whatever, and it works. And then some of you look at the pie and you say, okay, well, this was a great pie, but it sure could use a little pinch of this or a little add of that, or I think I'm going to use a different pie crust next time, or whatever it is. And you start to morph that into your own.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing goes for people that teach things online. This is the way. This is the way to enlightenment. This is the frequency, and you must meditate, and you have to sit in this position or go and, because that's what works for them. But it's not going to be the same for everybody, and everybody's experience isn't going to be the same. And some of that is based on the other side of your brain. So for those of you that have grown up in religion, maybe you're religious now, maybe you're not before, but maybe you're not anymore. But we have this vision of what God looks like because the movies have told us what it looks like. Mm-hmm. We have this vision of, what Jesus looks like or Buddha looks like or whatever, looks like Nirvana, in other, and sometimes people tend to think, in some ways, like some people say, well, I'm talking to my higher self. I asked my higher self. Mm-hmm. And all you're really doing is asking yourself because it's still yourself.
Yeah.
Meaning you're tapping into your wisdom. That's what you're doing. You're tapping into your source given wisdom to ask yourself what's good for you or bad for you, or should I do this or should I do that? But that's sovereignty, though, too. Instead of calling up somebody else and asking somebody to read your tarot cards or do whatever, to try to when you have a big and difficult decision to make. It's not to say that that's not great to do sometimes, mm-hmm. but, and some people have people they trust and, they get the information, but there's nothing better than the wisdom that's coming through. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, we can say we're too close to the situation. I'm not going to think objectively because I really love this person and I don't want to say that to this person, or I love these people. I don't want to stop going to this group, even though I feel weird when I'm there, mm-hmm. So I guess the message here on this part of it is you have to do you in your way. You have to do your things and your connections and your remote viewing or whatever skills you possess or want to possess in your way. Only you know you. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter which road you take to get there. And are these people helpful? Are you blocking yourself? Because with the lifting of some of these programs that are the governors that don't smack you down anymore, it's a wide open field.
Yeah.
So, this weekend, for me was a perfect example of, when I listened to the analysis, after, and it's still being analyzed actually at this moment because it's been a little over 24 hours now, but they just don't get it. I'm not one of those. I don't fit into any of their classified document categories that a person is supposed to fit into.
Yeah.
Or it's not a person and I don't fit in any of those categories either.
Right.
So I thought it was good to kind of explain this not only for their benefit, because not all of these people hate me or against me, and some of them will try to use the information against me, and I know that. Therefore, it's now I'm extra, on extra high alert on that front. But on a regular person's front, it also made me think of, how much information is really out there, on how do we connect to source, how do we levitate, how do we travel. Is it all astral travel? Is that the heaven that everybody's looking at? What is it? What are people seeing and how are they doing this? And then, I started looking on YouTube a little bit yesterday in the afternoon. I'm like, how many people are trying to teach people how to do this? And there's a lot.
Yeah, and like you said, everyone does it a little different way. And I think we're kind of trained to be like, well, if not everyone's saying the same thing, then maybe none of it's right, or you don't know who to trust, as opposed to looking at it like what you said, like everybody does do it differently. Yeah. When I have these kind of situations, I'm not a big person of going to gurus and stuff like that. So I just try to connect with source, and I just try to say, can you show me what the way is for me? What is, just open my eyes, like drop me clues, whatever. I'm open and I'm willing, to receive this information. How do I do it? That's what I typically do. And just because it's different for everybody.
And sometimes it's difficult to hear too.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, you make that connection and you're expecting, an answer. I know that like this was years ago, and I mean years ago, but there was a question about a person I was dating at that time. And I was like, okay, what do I need to know here? Because like this, I thought it was going okay, maybe not, I don't know. And the answer was when one door closes, another door opens. And I didn't really want that to be the answer. I wanted it to be something else. But sometimes, like you said, anytime I don't listen to that all that advice I get, the wisdom, whatever it is, it never ends well. And, it pretty much ended, shortly thereafter and that kind of thing. And another door, it did open and it was a better door, so at the time. But, you got to do it yourself. Mm-hmm. You can see how other people do it, but you really have to dance your own dance, sing your own song. Some people it's, they need to be in a quiet place and really focus on that connection. Some people can do it in the middle of a crowded room, or when they're in a dangerous situation, it's like, ooh, it all opens up wide. And then now they get all the information they need, to get out of the situation. I don't know what it is for you. I mean, you can look at the menu here of possible options, and maybe you'll look at 10 different people or different religions or whatever it is for you, and you make that connection however you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can ask the question as well. I'd like to remote view. How do I do that? I would like to levitate. I want to walk on water, or whatever it is you want. Well, if you want something badly enough, you'll get the answer on how to do it.
Right.
All you got to do is ask. Right. And it will come to you. And whatever position you're in, maybe you stand on your head and bark like a dog. I don't know. But whatever it is for you, do you. You were not in a program. You were not trained in a specific way that this is how it's done. Because there's going to be things that are happening in this world that none of these programs are going to understand, including me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you don't understand me. Because if you did, I'd probably be in a lab right now being dissected to figure out how you could make more of me's that work for you. I'm sure of that. Actually, they've actually told me that in the past, that they've been trying to make people like I am for years. And I know that. But for you, there's a lot of changes that are going to be coming up, positive changes, no more interference with you. And really, this is going to be an important skill to learn.
Yeah.
How to protect yourself, how to defend yourself. This is about sovereignty. It's about you. If you want to watch some of those videos, great. Take what you need and leave the rest, because it might not work for you, or maybe just part of it works for you. And then you combine it with something somebody else does, and now you've hit your goal. But have a basic understanding of where you want to go and what you want to do and what you want to focus on, and the information will come when it's the right time. And by the way, empty your cup before you do. Because if you don't empty your cup, then you're going to be confused. You're like, wait a minute, I don't want to move to Oklahoma. I don't want to move to the States. I don't want to move to Australia. But you're told to move to Australia or wherever it is you're going. You're told to do this. Listen, because there's something there for you. I have a good friend of mine who had been in a horrible abusive marriage, that kind of thing. And she had never really traveled outside the country very much at this time. And all of a sudden, she basically threw a dart on a map and said, where am I supposed to go? And I don't mean literally, but in her conversations with Source. And she was told to go to Honduras. Of all places in the world, this is where she was told to go. And turns out she did go there, She stayed for quite a while, and she met her now husband of 10 years. So you just, you're supposed to go here and you're going to learn about love. That was all she knew. She's like, how am I going to learn about love? I don't speak Spanish even, how is this going to be possible? Well, turns out it worked out that way. You just never know where the wisdom is going to drive you, and you might not always like the answer, but trust me when I tell you it's in your best interest. And that's where the empty cup comes in. You got to learn to trust yourself too. You'll get messages sometimes and you'll think, I am absolutely off my rocker. If I say this to my spouse or whatever, they're going to think I'm a crazy person. Hi, honey, we're going to move to Jamaica now. Smile big, because I was told to. Just saying.
Yeah, that doesn't always go over so well.
No,
let's up and move the whole family. Let's do that.
Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But, or you're going to up and quit your job and go to this other location and trust me, the money's going to be there, or trust me that this is going to work out. Or, I've even had unpleasant experiences and they were like, nope, you need to go back. Nope, you did not get what you were supposed to get. Go back. I'm like, oh God, this is going to be painful as all get out. I got to go back. But I've always come away with some information. People even ask me, like, how did you sit there and talk to Marduk for all those years? Like, why did you go across the world to go, sit with these people? Why did you talk to all these agency people? Why did you, oh, you must be CIA or something like that. And no, I was just told to go there and talk to these people. I was told to take the meeting. I was told to do this. So I did. And quite frankly, as unpleasant as some of these experiences were, and at times I'm like, you're kidding me right now. I'm supposed to let this happen. I am supposed to go to this thing. You're kidding me right now. These people could kill me when I get there. And they're like, nope, you'll be okay. Just go. I'm like, okay. I did. I turned out okay. I mean, not always was it a pleasant experience. Not always did I, remain unscathed for sure. But, I did survive it and I'm okay. And I learned an awful lot from these experiences. So, again, the reason why they can't figure me out is the same reason how they're not going to figure you out either. Without computer enhancement, quantum AI systems, programs left here by aliens, you are now open to do a lot of this stuff without the same backlash as you got before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the next thing, and this one's going to be a tough one for a lot of you, playing the victim. You feel sometimes these things can beat you down so much sometimes, especially if you're a light worker and you're trying to do a lot of light and it really hits you hard. You're not a victim. You have all the tools you need to defend yourself by whatever means necessary. And if that means you're pulling a cord and you're pushing somebody as hard as you can push away from you, then do it. They are breaking and infringing on your sovereign right to do what you're doing. Push them. Defend yourself. Stop calling other people to defend you. Some of these people might not be in your best interest. You don't know which side somebody's playing with or if they were trained in an unnatural way. Even regular people that really think they're doing something positive. If they did it in such a way, you don't know what's out there. You don't know what you're connecting to. You may think you're connecting to Mother Mary or something wonderful or this angel or that angel, but are you really? Use discernment, and you don't know what these other people are doing. You only know what you do, and make sure that you uncover the veil and you're seeing if you're talking to another being from another place, that's fine. They're just like me talking to you, Sonny, but without a microphone and an internet. But make sure you're talking to the right thing, the right person, You're not talking to a computer program if there's anything left out there. You're not talking to somebody else's something that they brought up in that person. Just be careful.
Right.
But these things are opening up now. And the government doesn't understand, and the space program people don't understand me because they've never worked with anyone that has not been through one of their programs that is as effective as we are.
You know, I find it so strange, unless they really don't understand the hierarchy of everything here, why they give anti-source so much credit and not source itself. Because that's what we're partnering with to do what we do. Why wouldn't they think that, that source would be just as strong, if not stronger, than anti-source?
For many, many years, due to agreements, dark ages, all kinds of things that have been going on. You got to remember, these organizations, even the oldest of them, 5,000 years old, 6,000 years old, or whatever. I mean, that's a long time for an organization to exist. But for as long as these people have had knowledge of this stuff, we have lived under a dark age, or, and God forbid they do locate people on our side of the fence, those kind of things. They've always been able to, run all their operations on them. They've always been able to counteract them. They've always been able to kill them. They've always been able to do certain things with people that are on the other side to render them ineffective, isolate them, keep them away from all their people, make sure that they don't join together with other people, because if they get 3 to 7 of them, this is what they told me, together, if she gets 3 of them like her together, or 7 would be better, then it's over for us.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, no kidding. But they did a good job, because every time I would find these people, some of those people would go nuts. They would literally lose their mind. They threw their own psychic network people in there to tell them, oh, no, she's not what she says she is. And, you've been fooled, and all of this kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this has happened. I mean, I've located a lot of people, and now I just don't really talk about it. Because when I do, bad things happen. They go after those people, because it does take a strong person to sit in this chair. And for a long time, I made sure I didn't surround myself with anybody.
Yeah.
For that very reason. I've seen grown 6'5" men run around like little girls, slapping themselves in the head, going, ah.
Wow.
And a lot of it, like I said, was computer programs. So these programs, humans had limited access to, but some of them were aware of the regulators that could happen, and probably had some limited access to regulators to where, and this, you're talking cyber life level now. You're not talking about, regular government type programs. And the facilities for these things, I'll tell you, these things were huge. Yeah. A lot of them existed in places where they could transmute the most amount of energy coming out of Earth. So let me give you those locations so that they're not. These facilities are not there anymore. They were tied to some of those satellites and stuff that we talked about last week. But we had pretty much most of the whole state of New Mexico, most of the whole state of Louisiana in the United States, most of the whole country of Finland. These were huge. Under the Caspian Sea, another area. Salcedo, Ecuador. Canberra, Australia. Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Wonder why we were all fighting over that, huh? Most of the nation of Costa Rica, Cantabria, Spain, and underneath the Euphrates River. We talked a lot about the Euphrates River and the border between Iran and Iraq. So that was a big light generator for Earth. A lot of gold there, source, presence, source of life on the planet, first place where everything happened. So no surprise that they would go just outside of that and build an overlay so they could transmute as much of the as much of that energy into dark energy to make people go crazy. So, but you know, I hesitate to talk about a lot of these programs because I want to encourage people to push through glass ceilings and things that existed that were not insurmountable by the average everyday human. We just felt like you get to that point. It's kind of like fear too. You know, you get to that point and it takes an awful lot and a lot of strength or an extenuating circumstance to make people say, I need to go do this. You know, your kid's in trouble. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. You are going to go to the ends of the earth and lift that car, move that building, whatever you got to do to get that kid out, it's going to happen. You know, that's what I mean by extenuating circumstances, where you push through all your limits that have been put on you. So the takeaway, you know, from things I didn't realize this weekend, you know, just how different things were when you aren't in one of those programs and you've basically taught yourself how to do a lot of that stuff, which I talked about not last Wednesday, the Wednesday before, you know, was most of mine just came off wisdom. You know, it came off that connection. Oh, look what I can do, you know, with my body. Look what I can do with this. Look what I can do with that. And then, of course, learning and meeting these people in person. I've had a lot of meetings with a lot of people over the years in many different countries that you go into the meeting and immediately it feels like someone has a vice on your head. You know, they're very heavy-handed, these people that are trained in these programs. It's I don't know if they're trying to penetrate it with dark energy, to read with dark energy. I'm not exactly sure how they do these things, but once you start feeling that, you can push them off. I mean, you can block it. You can even put a layer over it that says that you're singing some song, you know. Like one time in a meeting I had on repeat, you know, my hat, it has three corners has my hat. You remember that song when? No? Oh, it's a kid's nursery rhyme.
Okay.
You know, but I would just pick something random like that, and that's all they were reading. But yet I'm talking about something different, you know. They don't understand how it's done. But when you're self-taught and self-trained, all you know is you need to avoid X. If you go to a meeting and you're starting to feel that, you need to avoid it. I had one meeting that lasted 8.5 hours while they sat there and tried to figure out how to do it.
Wow.
I had little blowing fish. This was before Nemo, you know, like, you know, floating around, all kinds of different stuff, like, you know, like weird random thoughts, you know, and they like, she can't be thinking about this.
She's messing with us. Come on.
I'm having a conversation about, at the time, this particular meeting took place in Frankfurt, Germany. So, you know, they're like, how the heck is she doing this? You know, 8 hours they tried. God bless them.
So I'm curious. So how did you do that? Like, did you just set the intention that that's what you wanted them to understand or hear if they were to read you? And then you could go on and talk about other things?
Yeah. You change your, so what you do is I shield, right? Obviously I don't want them actually in my head. And then outside that shield, you change your brain waves from what you're actually thinking to send out a frequency that will formulate something different.
Okay.
I don't know. And then you just let it run. Like, so I picked something that would be repetitive, like, you know, a nursery rhyme or a song or something like that. That's not too complicated, only has a few like lines to it. That way I can keep that going at the same time I'm having, you know, actual thoughts and conversations.
Interesting. Yeah.
I know. Well, you gotta survive somehow. And on, you know, a lot of people that are on our side, we come up with, like I said, our own little tricks of the trade, so to speak, that help us defend ourselves. or, because there's nobody coming. We don't have a gaggle of military people that are going to show up here and defend you or whatever at this point. Never have anyway in the past. So you got to do something. You got to figure it out. Same thing with, remote viewing. Remote viewing has proven to be extremely useful and kicks into super high 3D vivid gear when I'm in a situation that I need to get out of. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to a meeting that I feel like is with some people that are dangerous, I automatically know how to get out. I make sure that I know all the exits, where I can go. I've remote viewed the whole dang building, hotel or otherwise, no matter where I was in the world, cities, walking around. I know the exits. I know which ways to go, where they're going to be coming from. I can see people coming after me. I don't go that way, that kind of thing. But, these are things that people go through these programs to do, I guess, to some degree, to locate their enemies, to locate different sites like the ones I just talked about, these 10. We don't have that. We need to defend, and it comes from wisdom. It comes from, others that are here. From time to time, we work with all kinds of different groups to make this happen. And I'm sure they probably noticed that yesterday too, that, even though it appeared that I showed up there with one person, I didn't show up there with just one person. There were other folks in the peripheral, Was there some people? Sure. Was there people that if you had a special camera that governments use to kind of look at you, in a different way on this level of things they do? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Did they have to find a different way to do it because I didn't show up in the location or stay long enough for them to figure it out? Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. You live and you learn, guys. I lived and I learned too. And that's why I didn't stay. I had coffee one time in a coffee shop that I had prearranged and you guys did all your thing to me there. So I'm like, nah, we're not doing this again. Heck no. But it worked out, turned out. It was a nice conversation. And, and that was part of my weekend. The other part was going around, looking at sites, looking at where that No Joy program was coming from, because I could still sense it, and trying to make sure that we give everybody the best opportunity to be their best self without pain and being pushed down by other people. As far as governments, everybody's anxiously awaiting their giant payday on the 4th of July to begin wars and World War III and false flags and all these exciting things that they're setting up, when that actually has not happened since 2012. I know that they used some limited money, because when I say 4th of July money, we're talking, over $100 trillion would come out. I mean, that's a lot of money for every country in the world type budget. It's not just the United States budget. Now, since that time in 2012, the last time that there was any kind of release, and I know that because I did it myself, the other releases were paled in comparison, even though the U.S. budget was, $1.5 trillion or whatever it was, 1.8 one time. That's chump change compared to what used to happen on the 4th of July. Yeah. So you're going to have a whole lot of disappointed people, operatives, governments, and everything else. And, they'll just set a new date. I don't know when the next, new moon, full moon, harvest moon, God knows what. Interestingly enough, though, the chatter I am hearing is annual meeting wise, it appears that what's left of the deep state plans on attending meetings that would normally start the next day.
In-person meetings or remote?
Yeah.
That's good. Anytime you can corral them in this life.
Well, the others, okay, so in the world of meetings, you would have had every 7 years, fallen angels meetings, and then it would have been the alien meetings, or what we consider aliens, non-humans, and then you would have started to have the parents' meetings now. Well, they figure since nobody else has left, they are more than happy to take that position. So there is chatter about them figuring out where in the world they should go to get the information directly from the aliens starting on July 5th.
Yeah.
On the new moon, because there's nobody above our heads now, so we can get the information directly. Well, there's none of those people either, guys.
Yeah.
You know,
we're going to be waiting a long time for that information.
You're going to be waiting a long time. I hope you packed some bags and, you know. But it would be great if you all go to one place. I'm happy with that.
Oh, please.
Please do. Please all go to the one place. You know, rapido, you know, by Friday. You know, let me know when you're migrating all to the one place.
Exactly.
You know? I'm pretty sure I know where that place is going to be, but we'll see if they actually do it. Or the information that they got this weekend. I should have done a projection, Sonny. That's what I should have done. I should have made like a big angel or something. Rawr, you know?
Just to throw them off.
Yeah, no kidding. I could have done that too. It's actually really easy to change the color of your aura. You know how like people do aura readings and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
You can change the color of your aura. I mean, you can make your aura completely white if you want to. Like you can do multitude of colors. You can change it any way you want. You know, if your emotional state obviously comes into play with that, but it's very fun to do. I've done that before, like on somebody's machine, they wanted me to go do the reading with them. And so I did the thing, but it's fun to do. But as far as like projecting, like I could have definitely done that. God, darn it.
Next time, Kim.
Next time. There's always next time. Anyway, that's pretty much the world situation report for Monday. Gonna be an interesting week this week. Probably won't be until, you know, Thursday, Friday this week is when, you know, it'll be SHTF time. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. See if anybody comes to their senses. See if this analysis is helping anybody in a positive way. Maybe they'll figure out that the difference between an actual white worker versus a white hat, and why are all these people fighting me? You know, why are these alleged people that think they're doing the right thing fighting me if I am on that side? You know?
Yeah.
I don't look dark, you know, even when I'm not manipulating anything, I don't. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anything at this point. Who knows? For us, we're just sanitation engineering and restoring one piece at a time, one day at a time, one thing at a time. And now you all have homework. So there you go.
Yeah, I do hope that some people come to their senses once July 4th comes and goes. You know, I mean, they got to be tired of this song and dance just as much as we are, you know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
And now you have to look up that nursery rhyme.
Yeah, I got to go back. What was it again?
It's my hat. It has 3 corners. 3 corners has my hat.
Okay. I'll Google it. See what comes up.
Had it not 3 corners, it would not be my hat. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
God.
Fine. Fine.
All right. Well, Kim, we will see you back here on Wednesday.
Sounds perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN Meme of the Day, a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together.
And that wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record and share it with us so together we can share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.